Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at what seems like one single case file, a lawsuit from an alleged construction accident.
Right.
But we're going to use it as a magnifying glass to look at something much, much bigger, a whole alleged systematic operation.
We are. We're looking at the case of Jose Hualpa Chisag versus LRC Construction. And on the surface, it looks like a simple slip and fall in the Bronx back in 2022.
But our mission today isn't really to relitigate that fall.
No, not at all. It's to understand the financial incentives that allegedly turned a seemingly minor isolated injury into a claim worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And connected it to this sprawling network of dozens of other people.
Exactly.
So that's the crucial pivot. We start with a plaintiff who allegedly suffers a wrist fracture, a distal radius fracture. It's a relatively common injury.
Very common. But by the time this claim really gets going, the plaintiff is seeking damages for something totally different. Serious, unrelated injuries that need major spine surgery.
Specifically, an anterior cervical discectomy and fusion, the ACDF.
And that right there is the red flag that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Look, the simple truth is a settled wrist fracture might get you, what, $20,000, maybe $50,000?
Sure.
But a serious cervical spine injury that needs a fusion surgery, you are now talking about a claim in the high six figures, well over $500,000, sometimes getting close to seven figures.
Wow.
And that huge difference in value is, according to these sources, the alleged engine driving this entire network.
So the defense counsel realized pretty quickly they weren't just fighting one plaintiff.
They were fighting a business model.
And their deeper investigation, that's the core of our deep dive today, it allegedly connected over 30 individuals.
Yeah, and these weren't strangers. They shared family ties, lived on the same streets, they saw the same doctors, and they were often represented by the same legal network. We are going to map out that whole framework.
We're going to get very specific, looking at the ties between two claimants, Luis Tuban and Oscar Las Luisa Apapucho, and see how their cases allegedly just reveal this standardized sequence.
From legal referral to medical treatment, all the way to that high-value surgery.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, the Chisag case. Just to understand how fast this alleged transformation happened, the source documents are really clear about the initial event, right? August 15th, 2022.
Very clear. Chisag has an alleged minor fall, gets some swelling in his wrist. They give him a cold pack on site. He goes to Flushing Hospital, and x-rays confirm, yep, a fracture in his lower arm.
And here's the critical part. This is from the emergency room staff.
It is. He was discharged ambulatory with a steady gait, and the notes explicitly say he had no complaints of neck, back, or head pain.
None.
Zero. He's just told to follow up with an orthopedic specialist for his wrist.
But he doesn't do that.
He does not. 2 days later, August 17th, he completely bypasses the recommended specialist, a Dr. Ganta, and instead goes to a Dr. Salian at Brooklyn Medical Practice.
And this 48-hour window it's everything.
It's critical because on the very same day he goes to Brooklyn Medical Practice, his workers' compensation claim gets filed.
Ah.
And that claim immediately escalates everything. It claims not just the wrist, but a traumatic brain injury, neck, back, and shoulder injuries.
Wait, I have to stop you there. He was discharged from the hospital having denied any head, neck, or back pain, and 48 hours later, he's filing paperwork claiming a traumatic brain injury.
That speed and that jump in severity are the alleged tell. It's the giveaway of the systemic nature of this. And in deposition later, Chisag allegedly denied even sustaining a head injury at all.
So he contradicted his own filing.
Directly. This whole rapid escalation, from a simple splint to claims of severe spinal instability is the alleged first step you have to take to get to the big prize.
The fusion surgery.
The fusion surgery, which Dr. Abhishek Kumar and Dr. Shivendra Jammohan performed in July 2023.
So we have the anomaly. Now we look for the system. How did he even end up at Dr. Salihan's office, skipping the recommended doctor?
Well, when they asked him, Chisag claimed he was referred by a friend of his brother-in-law, a guy named Javier Las Luisa.
A friend.
A friend. But here's the problem. He couldn't name this friend, couldn't give any contact info. And yet, this nameless, phoneless person allegedly drove him to his very first appointment at Brooklyn Medical Practice.
That sounds like a story designed to hide a connection, doesn't it? If he just said, yeah, my brother-in-law's lawyer gave me a number to call, that would link him directly to a pre-existing structure.
Precisely. That alleged secrecy around the referral is what made the defense counsel, MIDAS, start looking into Chisag's relationships. And what do they find? His brother-in-law, Javier Las Luza Pinto, had filed his own personal injury lawsuit less than a year before.
And that was just the start of it.
That was just the beginning of the rabbit hole.
Okay, let's step back and look at the whole network Midas allegedly uncovered. We're talking more than 30 people.
Yeah, it's a massive web.
Yeah.
And they're all tied together by, kinship and geography.
Not just acquaintances.
Oh, no. We're talking brothers-in-law, cousins, uncles, roommates, and next-door neighbors, all allegedly cycling through the exact same system, primarily in Queens and the Bronx.
And the two individuals who really crystallized this pattern for us are Luis Tuban and Oscar Las Luisa Alpapucho.
Absolutely. The defense's due diligence found that Luis Tuban is Oscar Las Luisa Alpapucho's brother-in-law and his next-door neighbor.
So they're familially and geographically fused.
Exactly. And their alleged legal and medical journey just mirrored Chisag's. Tuban, in his case, and Alpapucho, in his, both allegedly sustained these construction accident trip and falls.
And the mechanism of injury, the story of the fall itself, is often similar too, right?
It's often standardized. Many of these claims, including from other relatives like Segunda Matias Masaquiza Pinto and Edwin Las Luisa Pinto, use the same narrative, falling over scattered materials, tools, debris on a construction site.
Which helps fit the incident into specific labor laws?
It fits perfectly into the violations they need to allege.
So you have these standardized, quickly filed accidents, standardized family ties, standardized neighborhoods. Where do the lawyers fit in?
This is where the source material uses the phrase, "it's a family affair," about the law firms.
Really?
Yes. So Chisag, our main guy, was represented by Liacas Law. But Tuban and Alpapucho were represented by Alefterakis, and Panic.
Okay, so different firms.
On paper. But the source documents explicitly state that the Alefterakis firm is related to the Liacas firm. It links the legal representation for all these key players under one sort of family umbrella.
So whether you go to Firm A or Firm B, you are allegedly being funneled into the exact same system designed to maximize that claim value.
It's an incredibly efficient alleged pipeline, from the fall to the courthouse.
And that efficiency has to extend to the medical side, too.
It has to. If you've got the same families, neighbors, and lawyers, you need the medical side to be just as standardized to hit that high-value target every time.
So what ties them together clinically? Was Tuban's journey the same as Chisag's?
Allegedly, yes. Tuban's medical treatment list is an almost perfect mirror of Chisag's.
No way.
Yes. They both allegedly treated with Dr. Selahin at Brooklyn Medical Practice. That's the doctor the nameless friend recommended.
Right.
They both went to community medical imaging for their diagnostics, then advanced orthopedics and joint preservation, North Shore Family Chiropractic, and finally, Big Apple Pain Management.
And that's where Dr. Richard Apple comes in, known for administering steroid injections.
The very injections that help document the need for surgery later on. It's a very specific and highly consistent list of providers.
And the entire point of the circuit, like you said, is to get to that high-value surgery.
Correct. The climax of this whole alleged protocol is the same major surgical procedure. Both Chisag and Tuban underwent the anterior cervical discectomy and fusion the ACDF.
And let me guess, same surgeon.
Performed by the same surgeon, Dr. Abhishek Kumar.
Okay, let's really unpack the implications of that. We are not talking about a routine X-ray. This is a highly complex, invasive surgery. How can a defense team argue that multiple patients getting the same surgery from the same doctor is a pattern and not just, that he's a good surgeon?
Because the documentation allegedly gave them away. MIDAS found that the surgical operative reports for Chisag were, and this is a quote, nearly identical to 8 other operative reports, also performed by Dr. Kumar on other claimants in this network.
Identical for 8 different people who had 8 different alleged falls. That just seems clinically impossible if the injuries were genuine and unique to each person.
It raises massive questions, doesn't it? Standardizing a surgical report suggests that the subjective findings, like the severity of the nerve compression or the actual necessity for the fusion, were essentially scripted.
It just completely undermines the idea of individualized medical necessity.
It turns a complex procedure into a commodity within an alleged insurance fraud pipeline.
And this pattern connects directly to the broader context we have from the source material. These civil RICO fraud actions like Roosevelt versus Liacas and Union versus Liacas.
Exactly. Those RICO actions allege this very thing, that law firms and medical providers conspired to direct claimants to either fake injuries or exaggerate minor ones, pushing them through a standardized, unnecessary treatment protocol just to inflate the claim value.
So the whole point of the identical reports and the consistent ACDF surgery is to create the paper trail.
It's the paper trail that justifies the huge settlement.
Yeah.
If you can efficiently turn a $30,000 wrist fracture into a $700,000 spinal fusion, you've created an incredibly profitable system, allegedly fueled by that Liakis and Eleptorakis law network and their specific medical providers.
It completely changes what the case is about. It's not a personal injury suit anymore. It's an alleged organized scheme focused on medical profitability.
And that profit relies entirely on everyone following the script, the medical and legal choreography. The fact that the initial injury was so minor, like Chisag's wrist, just highlights that the accident itself was just the ticket to get in the door. The goal was always the high-value surgery.
So what does this all mean? Our deep dive into Chisag v. LRC construction shows the defense didn't just stop with the facts of the case. They pulled on a thread.
And they kept pulling, uncovering what is alleged to be this large-scale system.
We've seen how these family relationships, like the brother-in-law and next-door neighbor connection between Tuban and Alpapucho, and just living in the same area linked dozens of claimants.
And they were all allegedly channeled through the same legal reps, connected by that Liakis and Eleptorakis relationship, and then put through the same sequence of medical providers.
All culminating in that standardized high-cost spinal fusion surgery performed by the same doctor with allegedly identical reports. This material is just a fascinating look at how sophisticated litigation has to be now. You have to investigate the entire ecosystem around a plaintiff to find these alleged patterns of organized civil fraud.
And that really brings us to the final provocative thought here. The sources allege that even with minor initial injuries, claimants were willing to put themselves at real risk by having these supposedly unnecessary spinal fusions, all for the promise of a big payout.
A huge risk.
A huge risk. So the primary driver of a claim's value is the surgery itself, this life-altering physical procedure. How effectively can our current legal and insurance systems really figure out the true causal link between a minor workplace fall and the decision to have that surgery? You're basically trading a physical risk for a massive potential reward.
It changes the entire calculus.
It changes everything.
A deeply complex and unsettling question about the incentives in our legal system. And that is all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you for joining us.